welcome to Once Upon a Weird. We are all very happy right now.
Hello.
If you're new here, I'm Bruce.
I'm Courtney.
I'm Chelsea.
We are sisters, which is super fun. Wasn't so much when we were younger, but it builds character.
It's for fun stories in adulthood.
Where we get to tell our parents all the illegal things we did finally. Yeah. But no, we are actually re-recording this episode because we had some technical issues with our
I was going to say, not us. We did
not
our
us,
job.
not on our side. They had some whatever issues, and so we are re-recording. So we all kind of, edited a little bit and changed things up. And this week is about vigilantes.
Yes.
So
I was very excited, kind of, before. Maybe I'll post a screenshot of the text thread. But Bruce sent us a text and was like, hey guys, I'm thinking about vigilantes for next week's episode. And I was like, oh my God, I know what I want to do. But what do you mean by vigilantes? Can we discuss what the definition is? Do you want to know what this hoe bag did? She fell asleep. I'm sitting, my heart rate just went, I get the children thing, but my heart rate just went up at like 11:15 at night, and I got so excited. And then you left me on tenterhooks, and
that's a you problem.
No, I was so excited.
It was 10 o'clock at night. That's why I was going to sleep. So, deal with it, I guess.
I ignored all of you because I was already asleep or in bed anyway.
Probably.
Because it was 10 o'clock at night. So I will not apologize.
Past my bedtime.
Yeah. And here we are. We get to do it again.
Yay.
We switched who we are hosting our podcast through. You can still find us on all the regular sites, but we will also have our website changing in our link tree in our bios on our socials, mine and the podcast socials. So you can still find us on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and now we are using Riverside.fm. So you will be able to find us also on there as well. So I'm hoping this works out better for us, and it already honestly feels like it is. We were all kind of in amazement when we started recording. It was just like, oh, angels singing from the heavens. So
correct. And I could log in the first time. The last carrier we used, I would try to log in. I couldn't hear anybody. It was a nightmare. And this time, first go, logged in, heard you. It was glorious.
Yeah.
Glorious.
No issues. So it's been great.
I mean, a lot of issues between the three of us, but no issues with recording.
Listen, Linda.
Not today.
Go there.
So
not yet.
We would be here.
Loyal listeners first.
For sure. Before we go trauma dumping on our listeners, we need to.
We let a little slip every week. It's fine.
Exactly. Yeah. You just get little snippets here and there.
Sprinkles of trauma.
Keep it coming back.
Yeah. We got to keep the mystery alive here.
Yeah. There it is. Yeah.
All right. Well, I am going to kick us off this week, and I'm going to kick us off with a story that kind of, once we started talking about the possibility of this becoming something we actually wanted to do as far as the podcast goes, I knew instantly that I wanted to Guy Fawkes. So I know not all of our listeners are from the United States. We have a Russian listener. Hello. We also have a listener in Ireland.
Hi, Bobby.
Yep. Hi, Bobby.
That's wild, by the way.
He's going to be
I know, right? Yes. So most of the listeners are from the United States and may not be familiar with a British holiday called Bonfire Night. I'm sorry, my mouth is like really watering right now, and I apologize. So every year on November 5th, people all across Britain light bonfires and they shoot off fireworks and they burn a stuffed dummy of a guy named Guy. So we're going to talk about Guy Fawkes. But like I was saying, having grew up in the States, we mostly light off fireworks to celebrate things that we did right. So what we like to call the right way. But the British, they throw parties for things that didn't happen, and specifically a massive explosion that would have taken out their entire government. And at the center of it all was a soldier with a fantastic mustache and just a really bad idea.
We love a good
I feel like,
moustache.
honestly, I feel like a good chunk of us can relate. Because if I
It's a
let it go,
mustache
I
ride.
do have a
I
pretty
do.
impressive mustache. I do. Jesus, I wasn't going to go that far, but here we are. All right, so tonight, grab your tea, maybe a pint. Don't bring any gunpowder. And let's talk about how a guy from Yorkshire almost blew up Parliament and ended up becoming a national holiday. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with the saying, remember, remember the 5th of November. Well, that is not all of the saying here. Most of us only remember that from V for Vendetta having come out. And that is definitely a millennial aimed movie as far as how we feel and all the things we've been going through as people having grown up from the 90s, feeling a little powerless in some of our situations. And we kind of just have to sit back and go, oh, all right, this is fun. Let's go get Starbies. Like, what are we going to do today? Let's go to TJ Maxx. So let me see. Sorry, my dog is now talking at me. There's Floki. Sorry, I thought I had this pasted, so I apologize. I thought I had the full quote from Remember, Remember. So, yep. Hold. Nope, this is just a error on my behalf. And then I moved my keyboard.
Well, I'm also writing down the time so we can take it out.
No worries. We're only humans. We make mistakes. I think people should know that.
I don't think I made one that can be written down and physically proven. I'm just gonna go with
But
that.
with the 1800s of it all, no one wrote anything down, so I will
To
never
say,
let this go.
this is the 1500s of it all. So just
Yeah,
bear
but
with me, I
apparently I was
guess.
born in the 1800s, according to my daughter, and now
That's right.
the person that my daughter is most like in this world. I told Mom the other day that I called her Kendall twice in 1 week, by the way.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It yelled at Rosie, and I was about this close to calling her Kendall yesterday at the store. So
I will not apologize. You're both
okay,
raising
all
strong
right.
women.
We sure are.
Yeah.
Okay, so the full quote to the Remember, Remember the 5th of November is sound a little replay-ish here. Remember, remember the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason, and plot. For there is a reason why gunpowder and treason should ne'er be forgot. So most people didn't know that there is a continuation of just, that first part. So let's get back to our Guy Fawkes. He was born in 1570 in York, a very beautiful city in northern England, full of cathedrals, cobblestones, and at the time, some pretty intense religious tension. England had broken away from the Catholic Church a few decades earlier. That move, the whole Henry VIII wanted a divorce situation, had set off a spiritual identity crisis that basically lasted centuries. So by the time Guy came along, being Catholic in England was kind of like being the one kid who still brought CDs to a Spotify party. I mean, you could do it, but everyone's gonna judge you for it. So, Guy's dad died young, and his mom remarried into a Catholic family. He grew up hearing about the good old days before England ditched Rome, and that stuck with him. He went to St. Peter's School, where a lot of the teachers were quietly Catholic. So you've got this kid sitting in a classroom in divided England thinking, yeah, system's rigged. Someone should really do something about it. And spoiler alert, he will. By his early 20s, Guy Fawkes was done waiting for change. So he left England and went to fight for Spain, one of the super Catholic powers of Europe, in the 80 Years' War. That's right, the man who would one day become England's most infamous rebel spent a decade working for another country's army. He was apparently really good at it too. He was brave, disciplined, and was really into explosives. Like if there was a Pyromaniacs Anonymous, this guy would have been the keynote speaker.
Jake would need to go there.
I know, right? Honestly, probably Mitch. So he called himself Guido Fawkes while abroad because, that sounds more European and mysterious.
Still
And,
not over
well,
Guido. I gotta
I
admit.
love
honestly,
I love a Guido. I'm sorry, a Guido with a good mustache. You cannot go
how could you
wrong.
go wrong?
You can't. I'm telling you.
I'm
He
gonna
should have
name one of
stuck
my
Well,
with
you
handbags Guido.
I
please do it.
I honestly looked at Kevin the other day and I was like, what a Guido. Like literally that would fit him almost perfectly. But Kevin, I can't go wrong. Kevin is perfect for him. But anyway, I digress. Guido with the mustache, go.
Yeah. Whoa. Well, eventually, when he came back to England, he found the situation had only gotten worse for Catholics. And that is when he met some very persuasive friends. Ringleader was a man named Robert Catesby. He was wealthy, handsome, and about as subtle as a stick of dynamite. He and a small circle of Catholic gentlemen decided the only way to fix England's religious problem was to, well, just delete Parliament in its entirety. The plan was simple in what could go wrong kind of way. Blow up the House of the Lords during the opening ceremony, kill the king, wipe out most of the government, and then kidnap the king's 9-year-old daughter and crown her as their little puppet to do their bidding. So, I mean, does Bruce have a question?
Was the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes inspired by this? Because that's all I can think of right now with whole like blowing up Parliament and all that from underneath. Cool.
I mean, a lot of things have been taken from this, honestly. It's kind of like a baseline of rebellion. Here's this small ragtag group of people who want to fight for their beliefs and they went for it.
The
But
original vigilante kind of thing.
honestly, yeah, pretty close. Yeah. So, um, I mean, they really only had like what, 4 or 5 things to do? Seems pretty straightforward, right? Should be pretty easy just to go check, check.
Easy peasy.
I know, right? Well, they met secretly in May of 1604. That's right, 4. We're in 2025, ladies and gentlemen, and we are talking about vigilantes who still are the topic of conversation
There's
this
a lot that's a
many years
topic of
later.
conversation that shouldn't still be, but I'm gonna leave it at that.
Oh, honestly, I mean, the fact that we have enough to talk about these guys for like 30, 40 minutes or 100 and some odd years later is insane. Anyway, so they met secretly in May of 1604. They swore an oath and started recruiting. They needed money, connections, and most importantly, someone who knew how to handle gunpowder. Wow, who do we know that can do that?
How
Guido!
convenient. Guido.
Enter Guy Fawkes, ex-soldier, demolitions expert, Catholic zealot, and all-around man of mystery. I feel like we need to do like almost like a little video with Guy Fawkes, and then bam, demolitions expert, bam, ex-soldier, bam, Catholic zealot, man of mystery.
Maybe someday
Just
we'll
with
have a
him like
TikTok.
kind of doing one of like finger guns at the end kind of thing.
International
But
man of mystery.
Honestly, Guido sounds like a man of many mysteries, but Guy does not. Anyway, so Guy seemed to be the perfect recruit. He had been away for 10 years. Nobody in London knew him, and he could blow shit up, because we all need somebody who can blow shit up. At first, the plan involved digging a tunnel under the House of Parliament, which, let's be honest, sounds like the least effective terrorism plan in history. Imagine 5 noblemen with no construction experience trying to secretly tunnel under one of the most important buildings in England with nothing but shovels and optimism. But luckily for
how long
them,
that optimism would last.
honestly, they probably wouldn't have even gotten a shovel of dirt up before they were like, Jeeves,
Someone else,
my gloves,
please.
my hands are rough. Luckily for them, a better option just poof appeared one day. It was a cellar directly under the House of Lords that they could rent. Because, the rich person of it all in this, because remember up top, Catsby was a rich gentleman. And it kind of makes me feel a little Fairly Odd Parents of this, because how could you not know? You're planning on tunneling under this building, but you didn't know that there was a cellar there? I feel like that should have been a very important bit of information.
And not just a cellar, an available cellar that they can rent. Gives them a reason to be there.
It gives a whole new meaning to man eyes, because they still had it back in the 1600s, and they still have it today. So, you know what,
Lord.
ladies? We are all valid. They still did it back in the 1600s. It will never change. So, they rented this cellar, and they filled it with firewood to make it look innocent. But then they stacked 36 barrels of gunpowder behind it. I don't know why stacking gunpowder behind firewood was a good idea.
I don't know who though would go down to that cellar and be like, "Oh, it's just firewood. That's cool," and walk away. Like that's kind of where I'm confused, but
Right. Like, do they know that this cellar was rented by somebody? And if so, why would you rent a cellar just to put firewood in it? If you have enough money to rent a cellar for firewood, wouldn't you have a house big enough to store firewood in it? Just some questions.
I don't
there's some
know.
questions.
Did they
Yeah.
think like that in the 1600s though, or was it just like, oh,
We're probably
They're
someone just
men.
has
now.
They wouldn't have even
firewood?
thought about that in 2025 if this was a project for them to be doing. We could hand out the same stipulations and just cross out the years and everything and just be like, how would you handle this plan? And I bet you money all of them would be like, oh, just dig under it. You can just dig under it. It's easy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so with the 36 barrels of gunpowder, it was enough to flatten the building and vaporize everyone inside. About 2 tons of boom power. Fox stayed behind to guard it under a fake name. Do we
Another
remember
one.
his fake name? Or
I'm so excited.
do we want to take a crack at it if we don't remember?
Oh, I remember.
Chelsea, do you remember?
I do not.
Would you want to take a shot at it?
I thought it was something like John Smith.
Very close. It was John Johnson.
That's right.
Yes. John Johnson. And yes, that was the alias he picked. Subtly, thy name is not Guy. And for months, he just chilled out. He waited in this cellar with 36 barrels of gunpowder and some random firewood.
So, like, with that, did he just live down there, or did he just like guard it through the day, or like
No
was he
idea.
just hanging out down there for months?
Well, so, I mean, I'm assuming we can all make the assumption, and it won't ruin anything, that we know this took place on November 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And they had met in May of 2004. I believe that's kind of around when they were doing it. So he was really only watching it for 4 months. So he may have lived down there, but it didn't say if they had like found clothes or bedding. All everyone has ever said was this was Mr. John Johnson, aka Guido, aka Guy Fawkes. JJ, and firewood and gunpowder. So I don't know if he was living down there or if he just was like, that gunpowder, nobody's going to need gunpowder in the middle of the night. Why would they do that? Or why would something maybe accidentally spark a flame in the 1600s and set everything on fire beforehand?
Again, I repeat my last statement of we're probably smarter now, so these might be things they didn't even know to think about.
Honestly, I mean, I would question the man that could make things explode should know
That's okay.
at
Good
least
point.
those things. But
Yeah.
so, yeah, he just kind of hung out. The others were planning the getaway after all of this went down. Everything was set until someone got cold feet. And a few days before the big explosion, one of the plotters got scared. He sent a letter to his friend, Lord Monteagle, warning him not to attend Parliament. And the letter was anonymous, but it might as well have said, "Dear government, we're totally planning something super illegal. Love, your local Catholics." Monteagle handed it straight to the authorities. The king ordered a search of Parliament. The first sweep found nothing suspicious, just a pile of wood and a guy hanging around named John Johnson.
Not John, surely.
Not John. No, just hanging out with his woodpile. But King James, to his credit, had seen enough Scooby-Doo episodes in his day, and he ordered another search that night. And that is when guards found Guido Fawkes with matches in his pocket, standing over 36 barrels of gunpowder. He was arrested immediately, probably with the look on his face that said, well, that escalated quickly. Because you'd think it would have. But honestly, if I was John Johnson, I probably wouldn't have had matches in my pocket in a room of firewood and gunpowder. It just sounds like a bad combination.
Maybe that was his getaway plan. Let's just blow everyone up.
I mean, maybe. More power to ya.
I guess.
Fox was tough. When they asked who he was, he said John Johnson. When they asked who he worked for, he said Thomas Percy. I couldn't find if that was somebody who was in this whole plotter thing or if he just made this man's name up. Which, if you can make up Thomas Percy for somebody else but not for yourself and just be John Johnson,
John
that's
Johnson.
one thing.
Yeah.
John Johnson. When they asked what the giant pile of explosives was for, he said, to blow you Scots back to your mountains. You'd think a man who just lied about his identity and who he was working for wouldn't be that blatant with his response. But here we are.
Yeah.
But, you know, the English were like, torture. Torture sounds good. That will change your mind. And obviously, apparently, change your handwriting. His signature on his confession starts as an unrecognizable scribble, and it ends neat and legible. He finally gave up names of his co-conspirators, and the rest were hunted down or killed. Catesby died in a shootout, but the other survivors were put on trial. The charge? High treason. The punishment? Not fun. And this last portion, I would like to give a trigger warning for suicide, even though it is the 16th. We're just putting that out there. And in January of 1606, the conspirators were executed, hanged, drawn, and quartered. Fox, though, pulled one last stunt. And right before the news tightened, he jumped from the ladder and he broke his neck, dying instantly. Because if you're going to go, you might as well go quickly.
I mean,
Agreed.
yes, it's suicide, but it's also like he was dying anyway, so you might as well be like, I'm going to do this how I want. Bye.
Yeah,
Well,
quite
yeah.
literally.
I'm not leaving this in your hands at this point.
Right.
No, not especially the people who just tortured me for a clean signature. So I shan't be doing that.
It's very like, fuck you in the last moments of my life kind of thing.
Yep. That was kind of his last middle finger to him. Well, the government celebrated its survival, and the king declared that every year the people should light bonfires to remember the failed plot. And so Britain
That
got
kills me.
bonfire night.
Let's light
Well,
fires.
that seems to be King James's last fuck you. to Guy Fawkes. He's like, oh, you want to break your neck and do this the easy way? Cool. I'm going to make sure people celebrate you once a year by burning effigies of your body in bonfires because you wouldn't let me do that to you before.
And it's like every year we're going to tell everyone how badly you failed.
Yeah, quite literally, yes.
Yeah.
So, as an American, that's kind of wild. It's like, hey kids, let's celebrate the time we didn't die in a fiery explosion by burning a human effigy, not an actual human, and eat toffee apples. You gotta admire their commitment, though, because 4 centuries later, they're still lighting stuff on fire about it. And over time, Guy Fawkes became more than just a failed bomber. He turned into a symbol of rebellion, resistance, of the idea that one person can change the system. Of course, that image got a modern reboot with the creepy smiling mask from V for Vendetta that came along. I always think about my friend Cameron because he has the mask tattooed on his arm when we watch this. Not to mention a friend of mine's husband whose birthday is November 5th. So happy birthday, Matthew. I know you don't listen, but that's fine.
Not yet.
Not yet, but I know Amy listens, so she'll tell him that he needs to listen to this episode. So now, in now times, nowadays, you've got hackers and protesters and meme lords wearing Guy's face as a kind of down with the system badge. And somewhere out there, I imagine the real Guy Fawkes looking down and saying, wait, I failed at everything, and now I'm a global brand. That's funny how history does stuff like that.
Yeah, you don't get to choose.
You don't. It's like friends with your nicknames. You don't get to choose your own nickname. You don't get to like your nickname. You just deal with it. Is that right,
Yeah.
Bruce?
Correct.
Well, and I feel like this Guy Fawkes story could have gone one of two ways. The kingdom could have been like, we don't ever want to talk about this again. Keep it quiet. Let's not, discuss him. It almost happened, but it didn't. Shush.
Which is crazy because that's usually what they do. So the
Correct.
fact that they
Yeah.
did a
Right.
whole
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, let's
So
start a
I don't
tradition about this whole guy. Yeah.
could do that all
I think it
episode,
more than anything
honestly.
backfired on King James because he's like, he thought it was this big fuck you to be like, hey, everyone's gonna think of you now as this like failed, rebellion or whatever, but it's actually the exact opposite. And
Yeah.
I
It's
think
like a
it's the choice.
reminder.
Yeah, the choice
Well,
he
'cause
made to do it is what lives on.
he's so
Yeah.
high up, he doesn't understand the struggle of his people in that um social living situations that everyone's in. He's just like, he was trying to kill me. We're going to show you you can't kill the king. And everybody's like, wait, but he almost actually did it.
Yeah.
We could do this. Let's just
Okay.
keep that in our back pocket. So the people celebrating bonfire night back then afterwards could have been celebrating it for a completely different reason than what the king intended for it to be celebrated as.
Well, yeah, and then in today's political climate, like there's a lot that, should be rebelled against. And so it's interesting to hear like the origins of that because you see it all the time in the masks. So
Exactly. Yep. It's
interesting.
just it can be one person or it can be everybody standing under an anonymous flag. And you'll never know. You'll never know. So yeah, that was Guy Fawkes and the man who almost turned the British Parliament into confetti.
That's wild.
So close, guy. So close.
Imagine how that would have changed the
John
world
Johnson.
as we know it. John Johnson.
Honest, it would have been crazy. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
how. I literally, if they would have killed everybody, I don't know how that last step would have gone for them. So I don't really know how much of it would have actually changed, short
Right.
of just they had killed the people and then those people were like, yeah, absolutely not. We're not going to let that fly. Or who knows?
Well, butterfly effect and all that. Like that's a lot of people dead that weren't before. Like
Yep.
even just the
With
act
kings
of
and
blowing up Parliament, like that's history, obviously, because again, we're still
yep.
talking about it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
The end.
Yeah, that's already awesome. Before I get going on my little story, I'm going to apologize since I am mouth breathing. So I am going to, I don't know what kind of cold has floated through our house, but it's no fun. So I might be taking more breaks or sounding out of breath, and I'm so sorry about that. But
It's fine, but according to your husband, it's COVID because his farts smell again.
What?
what he
Yeah.
said
Because your farts smell again, or his
No,
do?
is,
his
which, I'm not gonna lie, it's not like he doesn't necessarily stink normally. But lately, yeah. And he's like, yeah, I think it might be COVID because my farts haven't smelled since COVID. And I was like,
No, your farts have definitely smelled since COVID.
that's
You
how
know
we're
how I
gonna
was
gauge
just
it.
saying that we're smarter now than we were back then? I think I changed my mind.
He's, yeah. Which, I don't know. Maybe he's onto something and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe but I don't know. I think we all just have a cold because it tis the season
Because
for,
it's November.
yeah. Yep. So, all right. I am just going to start off with, have you guys heard? I mean, you have now because we've discussed this, but previously, had you heard of Jason Vukovic?
Negative
Nope.
Ghost Rider.
Yeah, me either. So he is considered the vigilante of Anchorage. Now, it's the summer of 2016 in Anchorage, Alaska. Long days, short nights. The sun hangs in the sky until nearly midnight, which, stop. Like, Alaska's so pretty, but come on.
No, my nightmare.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
But under the golden light in the quiet neighborhood along the edge of town, a man is making a list. Not of groceries,
Is he
not
checking it
errands.
twice?
Yeah, Santa's there.
It is very snowy.
Yeah. It's summer though, so Santa's already checked the list, okay? Get it
You
together.
have to start planning early.
Yeah.
This is for next year.
Well, maybe. It's a list of names, and every name on that list belongs to a convicted sex offender. His name is Jason Vukovic, and soon the media will call him the Alaskan Avenger. Jason
So,
Vukovic is,
can we call it the naughty list?
it's definitely the naughty list.
Okay.
Jason's list is the naughty list for sure. So I guess he could be Santa. I mean, come on.
Well,
Jason,
given the rest of the story, I hope not.
well, Jason Vukovic's story doesn't begin with vengeance. It begins with pain. Born in Anchorage in 1975, Jason's early years were marked by instability. His mother remarried when he was just 4 years old. Her new husband, a man named Larry Lee Fulton, was, at least on paper, a devout Christian. But behind closed doors, that home was far from holy.
Imagine that.
Yeah, I fear that we hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Jason would later write a letter from jail. Both of my parents were dedicated Christians. You can imagine the horror and confusion I felt when this man began using late night prayer sessions to molest me. He also
Oh, I
beat
forgot
me.
about that.
Yeah. He also beat me with a custom 2x4. So a little
I,
trigger.
I don't want to like make fun of things, but how do you customize a 2x4?
Was just thinking that. Did he
So
like
I
write his name
I
on it? Or?
consider it like with, you could either put nails.
Oh, I didn't go.
Yeah. Yeah, I just there's a lot I think that you can customize.
Or
You can
like
put holes in it,
drill
like a wiffle
holes.
ball.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind. That went dark and
Yeah, sorry about that.
I regret asking.
Just a, trigger warning. It does talk about child's SA and abuse. If you would like to skip through this, then please go ahead. By the time he was a teenager, the abuse had shattered any sense of safety. Jason ran away to Washington State. He didn't have any ID. He didn't have any money. So he did what many kids in survival mode do. He stole. Small crimes led to bigger ones: burglary, theft, and then jail. And with every arrest, another layer of trauma hardened all around him. He spent most of his 20s drifting, between jobs, between jail cells, between bouts of hope and despair. But deep down, one belief took root. The people who preyed on the innocent deserve to be punished. And I don't
I mean,
disagree again.
I can get behind that thought process, but
Correct.
punished versus killed?
And that's what's so crazy about vigilantes is I think our hearts kind of feel with them, but our brains know that in civilized
It's
society,
an
we can't just
emotional
people
decision.
100%. Yeah,
It's
It's
an
also not
emotional
black and
response, yeah,
it's not black and
for
correct.
sure.
Yep.
yeah.
By 2016, Jason was back in Anchorage. He was 41 years old, rough around the edges, but trying to rebuild his life. He worked odd jobs, spent time with his younger brother, and talked about faith and redemption, even. But one night he was scrolling online when he came across Alaska's sex offender registry, a public database listing convicted offenders, their addresses, and their photos. Something inside him snapped. He began visiting those profiles, printing them out, and keeping notes. To him, it wasn't about random violence, it was about justice. But this justice wouldn't come from a courtroom. It would come from the end of a hammer. It started in June of... Huh?
Sorry. All I could think of
It
was,
just
like,
clicked in my head when you.
I thought you were talking about a judge at first, and I was like, hammer, pow, pow, pow. And then I was like, oh, no, it's a hammer.
Nope. Like a pound a nail into the wall kind of hammer, not a
Wait,
gavel.
what year did this happen?
2016.
Oh, so hammer time was a thing.
Oh, previously. Yeah. Yeah.
Should that be the song that plays on our Instagram posts for this episode?
Hammer time. Yeah.
Marking that clip.
It started in June of 2016. Jason had compiled a list of 3 names, men convicted of sexually abusing children. He and a friend went from house to house, armed with a notebook, a hammer, and a righteous fury.
Who's this
Their
friend?
first... I don't know. It
Honestly, is
doesn't...
he holding the notebook?
Probably. Or just his lookout, maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Man, that's a good friend right there.
Yeah.
I feel like all this list is a giant checkbox next to each person's name written in crayon. And so when they go to like one door and he does it, the guy's like, okay, check. And
Yeah.
then they move on.
Yeah. It's
Guys,
like when little kids
we're not
write...
making light of all of this, but I
No.
definitely don't necessarily feel terribly bad about child
They were
predators.
actually touching children. There is not
Yeah.
a loss in this world.
Yeah.
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 Anyway.
I'm just trying to make it easier for our brains to wrap around some of this. I apologize, Chelsea. I'm so sorry.
No, you're just fine. It's nice because I can breathe while you guys talk too, so I'm catching my breath. The not being able to breathe out of your nose thing really takes a toll.
It sucks.
It does, yep.
So like talking and breathing is wild. But yeah, no, I appreciate the side quests are great. I love them. But their first stop was the home of a 25-year-old man on the registry. Jason kicked in the door, confronted the man, and demanded that he confess. He struck him repeatedly and then robbed him before leaving. It happened again a few nights later. Another man, another home invasion. The third attack would be the most brutal. Jason entered the home of Wesley Demarest, a registered sex offender in East Anchorage. He struck him 4 or 5 times in the head with a hammer, leaving him with a fractured skull and a traumatic brain injury. Demarest survived, but barely. When the police arrived, the scene was chaos. Blood splattered the walls, a terrified victim, and in Jason's car, investigators found a notebook filled with names, addresses, and the words pedophile list.
So did the friend just dip? Because where's he now?
No, he gone.
He said, "This is too heavy. I'm out."
He did. He said, "Look, I was going to help you, but I can't. Goodbye."
I broke my crayon.
I thought this was a fundraiser. I didn't realize we were hitting people.
He said, "You know what? I just wanted this guy's lamp. Now I got it. I'm going to go home. Bye."
Is there a genie in it?
If there was, that's why he took it for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
The notebook is what sealed Jason's fate. When Anchorage police caught up with Jason Vukovich, he didn't resist. He reportedly told them, "You can lock me up, but those men got what they deserved." In custody, Jason became kind of a local legend. Some Alaskans called him a hero, The guy who did what the justice system couldn't. Others saw him as a dangerous vigilante. Online forums lit up with debate. Was he a monster or was he a martyr? Jason himself wrote letters.
Both.
It's very Boondock Saintsy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that movie. I want to watch that now. Jason himself wrote
Amazon.
letters from jail to the Anchorage Daily News saying he hoped his story would serve as a warning that violence isn't the answer, but neither is silence about abuse. He wrote, "If you have been victimized, don't become what hurt you. Seek help. Don't follow in my footsteps." Which, every time I read that, honestly makes me tear up a little bit because it's so true. Like, I don't care who you are as an adult, you have something that you carry with you from your childhood or your early adulthood. And, you know, it's true. You have to take care of it. And that's part of the healing. But it just, yeah, that little part of his letter just instantly in my throat. It was a tragic.
Sorry. Yeah, like I heard a comedian, you can breathe for a second, say one
Thank
time,
you.
he was like, listen, I'm 36 years old. At what point do I stop blaming my parents for the issues that I have, right? And then he goes, however,
Yeah.
have you ever been in a building with an unstable foundation on the 36th floor? Do you feel safer? No.
Nope.
So
Correct.
I like
It's like building your house on sand.
well, exactly. And so that's exactly what I was thinking of like, everybody has shit, everybody. And
yeah, correct.
I just appreciate that he was like, don't do what I did. Just don't. Like,
yeah,
they got what they deserve, but don't do what I did.
Yeah. Your support system that you build for yourself is like the scaffolding for the ruined layers.
Yeah.
It'll hold everything up at the bottom, and it makes you more stable to the point where you can handle it and move on, and you can acknowledge what your parents have done, but that doesn't mean that you can blame them forever, because whether they did right or wrong, or in whoever's opinion, I'm like, your parents were still people, and they were all still doing this for the first time too. Not like beating or anything like that is unforgivable. I don't care who you are, but like,
no, and it's not just parents, it's abusers. Like, abusers can be
100%.
anyone, and they can shape who you are as a person, but you are the one who controls ultimately how it ends. They might have controlled the beginning, but you have to take the bull by the horns in that matter and say, this is not what I want to be like. I don't want to be upset by this all the time. I don't want to be affected by this all the time. And it's easier said than done. I'm not judging anyone that is still dealing with trauma.
I think it's kind of great, like, again, given everything, take this with a grain of salt, kind of great that he clearly didn't want to be that person. That's why he's telling people not to do what he did. But it seems like he couldn't help himself, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And that, that's what it says. It was a tragic irony. Jason became exactly what he hated. A man who used violence to feel in control. And I think a lot of, people repeat those cycles, not on purpose, but
it's easier.
It is easier. It is easier. And a lot of times, and, we will take the easiest path because it is hard. Being a grown-up is not easy.
It's fighting against your instincts.
Correct. Yeah. Agreed.
And knowing when not to.
Yep. Sorry about that. In 2018, Jason Vukovich stood before an Alaskan court. He faced more than a dozen charges of assault, robbery, and burglary. His public defender argued that years of trauma and untreated PTSD drove him to the edge, that he wasn't a cold-blooded criminal, but a deeply damaged man seeking justice the only way he knew how. The judge listened and then made it very clear. Vigilantism, no matter the motive, could not be tolerated. Jason was sentenced to 28 years in prison, with 5 years suspended and 5 years of probation. He appealed, arguing that his PTSD should be a mitigating factor, and the court disagreed. The law had spoken. The media dubbed him the Alaskan Avenger. Headlines painted him as a hammer-wielding crusader. Everyone has an opinion. Some people wrote letters of support. Others pointed out the hypocrisy. You can't stop abuse by becoming an abuser.
Mm-hmm.
One
Eye for an
Anchorage
eye.
resident, it's such a slippery slope. It really
Yeah.
is.
It really is. Yeah.
One Anchorage resident told reporters he's not a hero. He's proof that the system failed twice. Once when he was a kid, and again when he was an adult. And that may be the real tragedy of the story. A man who endured the worst of humanity, who tried to take that pain and turn it into justice, but ended up becoming another cautionary tale. From prison, Jason continues to write. He's spoken openly about his past, not to justify what he did, but to warn others about what happens when trauma goes untreated. In one letter,
Good.
he sounds very well rounded, and I just, obviously we wouldn't have this story if it wasn't for him, but it just sounds like he was kind of like, dang it, like it
Like I
Well,
went
I
and
happened.
did
feel
the
like
thing I hate.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like because he almost it sounds like he feels like he was almost forced to do it because of all the untreated stuff. He did understand it was wrong.
Yeah.
Floki's talking. My pit bull's trying to talk to me and she's getting very mad that I'm not paying enough attention to her. Anyway, what was I saying? I apologize.
Oh, you're good. I'm not sure.
Yeah. There moment's gone. I apologize to listeners because that's going to frustrate the shit out of you guys because I will do that more often.
And it'll happen again to us all. So
Yeah.
buckle up.
Yep.
In one letter, he said, vigilantism is a trap. It makes you believe you're right, even when you're wrong, but pain doesn't heal pain. Experts in trauma agree. Psychologists, got it, note that childhood abuse often warps a person's understanding of justice and of power. Left untreated, it can become a lifelong echo, one that demands to be heard, often through violence. Jason's case became a grim example of what happens when justice and pain collide. As of today, Jason Vukovich remains incarcerated in Alaska, serving out his sentence. He's in his late 40s now. He studies law, writes letters, and by all accounts has expressed genuine remorse. Whether he'll ever be released early is uncertain, but the legend of the Alaskan Avenger lives on, not as a hero's tale, but as a warning.
I just feel like he got the help he needed and
Yeah.
he went to therapy and he understands where he went wrong because probably at the time of committing these crimes, he was in the mindset of, yeah, it's bad, but it's one of those necessary evils. And then afterwards he was like, oh, fuck.
Well, honestly, when he saw that registry list, he was probably hardcore triggered, and it was probably
Oh,
something that
God.
he hasn't thought about in so long. And then to see that once he's back home, where he grew
Just
up,
get
which is
punched in the
already
face
bringing
with
up a
it.
lot. Yeah, like I can see
Yeah.
how you would feel like almost that fight or flight instinct of like, well, I have to do this, otherwise,
Yeah.
they're going to continue to hurt other kids. So I can like, as horrible as it is, and no, I don't condone murder, like you can see where he's coming from, and then to be like, well, fuck, I became again the exact thing I hated, and it's a slippery slope. Yeah.
To me, I think I I feel for him. I don't sympathize with him, but I think in my mind I could have justified his actions a little bit better had it been that he wasn't robbing people.
Yeah.
The first two,
Yeah.
he beat him up, he robbed him. And then the third one, whether it reminded him of his stepdad, I don't know, but it increased. It went from, beating him up and robbing him to almost murdering him. And so it's like, was he going to escalate? Was he going to continue to escalate? And
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
unless
the other
someone
part,
stopped him or he stopped him.
yeah.
You know?
And the other part is like, again, I know that it said that these were child predators, but I feel like so much is misunderstood about the sex offender registry. And we've talked about that before, where, you're put on a registry if you get arrested with a prostitute. Now, granted, I don't know if
Public
that
urination.
registry, I don't know if that registry per se says it was
why they're on it.
children, or if it was, So I can't.
It does in Washington, so I don't know about Alaska.
Yeah, and that's what I mean is I can't say what Alaska's said,
Well,
even then,
even
almost
if
10
it
years ago.
does, even if it does say what you've been charged
For
with,
sure.
do we trust our justice system enough to know for a fact that this person did that? Because, like,
Yeah.
given our past, we know that sometimes things are
Mm,
lies. Sometimes they catch the
yeah.
wrong person and shit happens.
Yeah.
And that some officers can go full almost vigilante themselves and
Exactly.
try to bulldoze the wrong people. Because
Yeah.
unfortunately, we will not, this is one of these stories that will not be shared here,
No.
but we are very aware of how, I don't necessarily want to say evil, but how narrow vision, tunnel vision some officers can be when they think they're doing the right thing. And
Yep. And
that's
I
not
think,
always the
Especially
right
if it's
thing.
powerful.
Yeah,
yeah, and I do think that all of that starts from a place of wanting to do good, including Jason.
absolutely.
But I think that we are all so much products of our environment, of our
Mhm.
past, of being raised, of, who we hang out with. I think everything affects us so much. And, it's when you try to teach your kids that, like, what you watch, what you hear, what you're around, what you tolerate from
Yep,
friends, all of that has something to do with your composition in your brain. And it might sound stupid, but if you're hanging out with somebody that talks negatively all the time, you're going to start talking negatively all the time. I don't care who you are.
exactly. I actually
And
just had that conversation with my 5-year-old this morning because we
yeah,
were sitting out front of the school before the cafeteria opened so she can go in and get breakfast. Yeah, my hobbit has 2 breakfasts, sometimes 3, depending on what time she wakes up in the morning. But this morning they were up at 6 a.m. wanting all the food.
I understand that.
Anyway, she has a friend in her class for the last 2 years, and he is kind of just left to his own devices. Mind you, these are for 5 and 6-year-olds. I don't want to pretend to understand what happens at his house, but he, as a 5 or 6-year-old, walks to the elementary school by himself, probably 35 minutes before he is allowed to be on campus without an adult present. Sometimes he has a coat, sometimes he doesn't. He just makes really poor choices. And my daughter wants to play with him so bad because they do have fun, but they don't make smart choices. So
Yep.
it's just hard to explain that to a child. And then when you as an adult have to break things down into simpler terms, and then you turn around and you're like, wait, I should probably take a closer look at what I am doing, because we make things so complex that sometimes when you break it down for your kid, you're like, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
explains a lot.
No, 100%. And, it just, it goes back to it. Like, if you're not seeing good in your life, you just take a step back and say, okay, is this, what's going on? Am I
Hmm.
putting good out? You know, am I
Protect your
seeing good?
peace.
You have to protect your peace. But I feel like, someone like Jason Vukovic only understood that after he got caught and got help. Don't,
Absolutely.
So anyway, like I said, part of it, I understand. I think we always need to protect our innocent, our elderly, our babies, everything. And unfortunately, those are the easiest targets for so many people. And
Well, that's why
it's
you need to
terrible.
stay strong with your boundaries, because the
Yeah.
second you start pushing it even just a little
Yeah.
bit past your comfort zone,
Yeah.
it's just going to slip right away,
Yeah.
and you're going to be doing something or in a situation that you're not comfortable with because you let your boundary wiggle.
Yeah.
You have to hold firm in your boundaries. And that's
Yep.
with your kids. Like, if you have this weird feeling, even not icky or scary, if you have this feeling and you're like, you know what? You're not going to go play at your friend's house today, or you're not, just, you got to listen to yourself, listen to your intuitions, hold
Mhm.
strong on your boundaries, and get
At the end of the
therapy.
day, we all have something that we deal with. Like I said, not necessarily abuse, maybe parents that weren't necessarily there. There's so many traumas that you could carry into adulthood.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with them. You if you don't want to keep perpetuating, deal with it. Go get
It's
help.
not your fault, but it is your responsibility.
That is correct. And to be better all the time, if we want to keep getting better, we have to be better. And you can't be better unless you deal with what is dragging you into those places. So that is
100%.
the end of my TED Talk, because therapy is not just for the weak-minded. Therapy is not just for
Absolutely
the
not.
sick. Therapy could be because you're having a hard time at work and you really need to get it off your chest. Like, it could literally be just adult things and you just need to get off your chest. So anyway, that's that. I will stop preaching about
That's
therapy.
what this is for. This is our therapy. And for the listeners, this
Yeah.
is your hour to hour and a half of hearing the dumpster fire that is our lives sometimes.
Sometimes.
It's a
Sometimes.
small dumpster. I'd say it's like
It
a
is.
95-gallon garbage can. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say it's a full-size dumpster.
It's not a large dumpster. It just sometimes gets really hot.
Too hot. We got to step out of the sauna for a few minutes.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's all good.
No, when I first had Lily, I was reading all this stuff about being parents and all this, blah, blah, blah. And that was kind of when I first read, like, it was basically said, face your demons or they'll raise your children. And it's so,
Oh, shut up.
so
That is,
true.
I mean, I don't want to say great, but that's,
It's so real.
I'd not heard that. That's great.
Yeah. And because I
No,
very
I
much
love
hit
that.
home, it's like all the shit that I don't know, like it's so hard as parents to not be like, well, my child's seeing all these things, but I'm a human being and I have to allow that. And like you just kind of go down this rabbit hole, and I have anxiety, so that is a big, deep, long rabbit hole. But it
PPA
just,
and PPD are real, man.
well, I had it before baby for sure, but it's definitely
For sure.
a
You know, PPD
thing.
wasn't recognized as a thing until like the 90s.
That makes sense.
It
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
No,
But
and
Sorry.
going back to that raising your children thing, and some people do it, without the other parent. And there was something that I heard taking a parenting class when I was going through my divorce. It was literally like it said, telling your child bad things about their parent is asking them to hate a part of themselves.
Mm.
And that stuck with me forever, because it was like, you don't want your kid to hate a part of themselves, no matter what. Like,
Nope.
even if you don't like that other parent, you don't want your
It's still
child
their parent.
to hate
Nope.
part of
well,
themselves.
and to think that you hate that part of them, because that's just
Exactly. Exactly.
true.
And so again, that's just you try to be better all the time, because I don't want, I want as little trauma as my children can take into adulthood.
Just enough to make them funny.
Which I think they've hit their,
Mm-hmm.
they're pretty funny. I mean, we
They're
could make
annoying.
them funnier, but
Yeah,
They're
they're
annoying.
annoying. I feel like at this point, I just need to drop them off in the desert somewhere and just be like, okay, kill a wolf, bring it back, and we're good to go. And then they've peaked at life.
300.
Yep.
There
Yep.
you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will dive into mine. I am no longer child free, so you might hear Lily kind of screeching.
That's fine. We love hearing Lily.
She is the best. Okay, so this one is very much more of like it started as like kind of a personal story, like not me necessarily, but I lived in in downtown Seattle from 2011 to 2016, I think, somewhere in there. And this was like the height of when Seattle had its real life superhero. His name is Phoenix Jones. And I shit you not, I am not making this up. This is not like a PR stunt by some company. This is like a legit guy that he was just like, fuck the crime. I'm gonna come figure this out. Well, before he was Phoenix Jones, he was Ben Fodor, just a kid that was adopted when he was 9 into a really crowded house in Seattle. Yes, Courtney.
All I think of when you say Fodor
Hodor.
is, what is it?
I think of Hodor from Game of Thrones.
I think of Jeff the Talking Mongoose. Fodor is the guy who goes to the farm to talk to Jeffrey the
Do you
talking
want something?
mongoose. No. Oh, well, yes, but no. Simon Pegg is in a movie called Hodor for Door, Jeff the Talking Mongoose, and it's on Amazon. I'm 90% sure I bought it because I had to watch it.
I think you're having a fever dream.
I'm not. It's real. Mitch walked into the room and was like, what the hell is happening? Nope. I know it's real. So continue. That's just what I'm saying is remind me of Jeff the Talking Mongoose.
Kevin looks very concerned at your story.
Okay.
I don't care.
Okay.
Once you hear about I will be doing Jeff the Talking Mongoose, whether I have to do a side little podcast to give you the full goodness of him, I will do so. But
You do
continue
you,
on.
boo. Okay.
It's going to be so exciting.
Okay, so he was adopted when he was 9, large foster family, so it was really loud, like really chaotic, kind of a, like if you want to be heard, you kind of have to fight for it type of home. And, you know, his breaking point as he got older, and it kind of explains a lot from his background, was his car was broken into. And when he found it, the window had been shattered, and his little son cut himself on the glass, and there were people everywhere, and no one stopped this guy from breaking into his car. They just watched, and that was it, you know. And he said later that he realized that the world needed somebody that would actually step in, and so he wanted to become that someone. And so,
Well, good intentions.
Pave the highway to hell.
Yeah, exactly. So he was a like MMA fighter, so it wasn't this some random fucking dude. Like, he definitely knew how to fight. Obviously he grew up in that type of home, so it's kind of like you cross MMA fighter, comic book, you get Phoenix Jones, right? So MMA fighter, hi Kevin, he poured $10,000 into his high-tech superhero suit. I watched The Incredibles.
Where's my super suit?
Yep. And so it's a Kevlar chest plate, stab protection, mask, taser baton, which I was like, yeah,
I want one of those.
I know. So he said that the outfit wasn't for theatrics. That wasn't what he was doing. It was to make sure that the police wouldn't confuse him for a threat. Now, Ben is a black man, so that is definitely, like, in today's, again, climate, and especially back then too, like, great messaging.
For sure.
Wasn't always, anyways, we'll get into it. So he starts patrolling, and he formed a team. It's called the Rain City Superhero Movement. And so it was 10 costumed heroes walking the streets of Seattle between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. Now, all of this is while I'm living downtown. And so, like, I was living in this time and hearing all about these random ass weird, like, weirdos.
Did he have like a specific area that he would stay in? Like, would he stay in like Capitol Hill? Was he in strictly downtown? Was he like Pioneer Square? Did he go everywhere? Was he just
kind of everywhere? It was mostly like, so it wasn't like, you know, Madison Park, which obviously not, because that's Richville, USA, but like,
yeah,
like the downtown area. So yes, Cap Hill, yes, Pioneer Square, yes, Soto, like all of that, and that was there, and like Capitol Hill, Queen Anne, and all of that. So so he was like,
did he have like a mode of transportation, like a Batmobile, or was he like renting Lime scooters?
I should find that out. No, I don't know if Lime scooters was a thing.
Oh,
yeah,
I don't think so yet.
Not in 2011.
Oh wait, what year is it? 11. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think those were around yet. So he formed his team. Their goal definitely was stop crime, deter violence, hand out safety supplies, just be symbols of good in the city. And Phoenix Jones was their leader and kind of just led them throughout all of that. He called himself the protector of Seattle. And he had followers, he had news crews that kind of kept track of what he was doing, fans, and he actually did stop crime sometimes. In one story, a man tried to hijack a metro bus downtown, and Phoenix sprayed him with pepper spray and held him until the police arrived. So
I wonder if it was Black Jesus.
Could have been. Yeah, that was
wild behavior.
We got verbally assaulted on the light rail going to a Seahawks game one time by a man who proclaimed that he was Black Jesus. The part that did make my heart kind of happy was the way that everybody on the train, immediately all the men stood up. They blocked women who were sitting in the aisles, and they blocked this man from anyone like young or a woman sitting in the aisle. And I thought it was just phenomenal the way some of these people acted without needing to be asked. Like, they all just kind of like looked at each other, and then all the guys stood up They all started blocking people. Nobody took hands out of pockets. Everybody was calm other than this individual. But I just thought it was pretty cool the way that happens, because it doesn't always happen like that, obviously, because this guy's car got broken into.
Yeah. And that's definitely what set him off for sure. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was one time that he was actually able to stop somebody. And then on another one, he broke up a bar fight. He did get his nose broken by getting punched, but he told reporters that it was worth it because at least nobody else got hurt. Um,
Oh.
so he tended to, run towards screaming people. He would sprint into street brawls. He stopped car break-ins because he didn't want the same thing to happen to anybody else. And, he just all around was a good guy and he wanted to do good things for the city. So now this part I told you guys about last time, but I promise to our listeners that it is real. In 2012, Phoenix Jones and a random guy got into an argument downtown, and instead of walking away, they invoked a Seattle law called mutual combat. If two adults agree to fight and no bystanders are hurt, then cops can legally let them throw hands. So that's
This
literally
needs to be
exactly.
utilized.
So they squared off in the street. Phoenix was in his full superhero gear. There was cameras rolling. People had their phones out. People were cheering. And there was a cop acting as the referee. They were like, can we do this? And he was like, I can't stop you. It's not illegal. And so he acted as the referee to make sure nothing got out of hand. And so they fought. Nobody got arrested. Completely legal. So just throwing that out there. I wish I could find like a video of it or like who won, but I guess that's rare that someone like wins when you're just beating the shit out of each other, but whatever. So, anyways, some things start to shift, right? Phoenix wound up pepper spraying a crowd outside of a nightclub because he thought he was breaking up a fight. Turns out they were dancing. So sometimes I guess that could
Dancing, fighting, honestly, orgies. Who knows what's actually happening in these dance
Yes.
Look,
parties?
Yeah.
there's slapbox parties, and who's to say? Who's to say? I
You
love a
can
slap
watch
giving.
people slap each other on sports TV now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
We need to
I'm
make like the Ocho for like combats in Seattle.
Yeah,
which I'm going to just say, I find that to be the dumbest sport known
the
to
slapping.
man. You just stand there and
Slapping?
let someone slap the absolute dog shit out of you. No, get a life. Find a real sport. Goodbye.
Get a life.
Yeah.
Seriously though.
So that was an issue. He was actually arrested for assault and then the charges were dropped. The city attorney of Seattle called him deeply misguided, and former teammates said he
As
was
he
getting
was.
reckless and that the fame of being Phoenix Jones was changing him, and the Rain City superhero movement officially disbanded in 2014. So
Do we have the names of the other heroes?
no, I
Or
couldn't find anything. Like I have literally like I have tags on Reddit to try and find anything that pops up. Like I've been trying and I haven't. So if any of y'all listening know, you tell me. But
To be fair, probably, if they have jobs in the city, they probably didn't want to be named.
yeah, that's
probably
true.
not. Honestly, if this guy would have just made like a neighborhood watch, he probably would have worked out way better in the long run and probably still going.
You would think, well, I don't know. There's been a lot that's happened in Seattle since
Oh,
2014,
yeah, no.
but
Neighborhood watches could not have stopped what has happened in Seattle since then. But I
yeah,
meant just like
exactly.
for the car break-ins and just things of that nature.
Yeah. So fast forward to January 2020, and Phoenix Jones hasn't really been in the news for a long time. After everything got disbanded, he was patrolling solo. You'd still see him out in the streets, and then out of nowhere, you see some headlines, and it's Seattle's real life superhero arrested for selling drugs. Detectives,
Gotta make a living somehow.
apparently,
Guess
detectives said
so.
they received a tip that Ben was dealing Molly, which is MDMA and cocaine, and so they set up a sting. And where else would you arrest someone known for being the superhero in Seattle than Starbucks? So here we are. We're in Starbucks. Undercover cops meet him there. They hand him three.
Is
Or
it the first one?
This is the first one. Yeah.
No, I
No.
meant like the first
No.
Starbucks.
No. The first Starbucks
Damn.
wasn't a store. It was a cart. But anyways, I won't get into that. Paid him $300 via Venmo and watched as he handed over what he said was Molly. The lab later confirmed that it was, and so they set up a second sting. This one also at Starbucks, and this time he agreed to bring cocaine to share and party with. Police moved in.
Is it at least a different Starbucks, or is he meeting at the same one?
It's the same Starbucks. Yeah. So the man who once patrolled the city to stop drug dealers became one himself. And I will say, this is because we pre-recorded this. I found this out in between. It was rumored that he originally became Phoenix Jones to try and get the drug dealers away. Chelsea, you sent me this, I think. Away, like out of his turf.
Yeah. To keep, that's literally, so I had told the girls, I maybe vaguely heard of this, even though I lived just south of Seattle, you know, but I didn't really know about it. And then 2 days after we recorded on Facebook, I saw this article thing pop up and I was like, what? Like, I've never heard this. I just see it after we record. And yeah, it said that he started to protect his area from other drug dealers. And I was like, that's so wild.
Yeah, so I looked a little bit more into that because I was like, there's no way. And that was definitely a huge rumor, even when they still were patrolling, that they were kind of all in on it together. And if they could get drug dealers afraid of selling the drugs within the city, and they could. So like, again, I don't know what's true. I don't know, you know, what the real inspiration behind all this was. Maybe it really was that his kid got cut. I don't know, but anymore.
Honestly, I was going to say he was like the drug dealer that brought like reusable baggies and was like, hey, here's a punch card. Yeah. If you buy from me 10 times, your next 8-ball will be on me.
Yeah.
Right? Or like a little sticker in the bag with it. And he's like, have a nice day. And then I heard that and I was like, nope, visual just changed.
Yep.
Completely.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, this was January 2020. So this was when we had my bachelorette party that he got arrested in downtown Seattle. Just to put that in perspective.
Shut up.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That is insane.
I will say again, because I said it the first time we did this, and I cannot get this out of my head, is if you've ever watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Super Dan was a superhero. It's Nate Torrance. I know, I didn't know this guy by name, to be honest, but when you look him up, you'll know him. But he plays Super Dan in one of the episodes, and he has a little Super Dan shirt. Looks like it just says SD on it and like duct tape. And
Scooby-Doo.
Literally, that's what it looks like. And hold on.
My gosh.
Shut up.
Picture on the video.
Yeah. Super Dan in this show basically comes into the police department and says, you know, I have pictures, or I've seen all this crime. I watch off of my neighborhood balcony, blah, blah, blah. And the detectives laugh at him because he is wearing a cape and, made out of a bed sheet and leotard, basically. And so it comes later that he actually has pictures of a bunch of drug deals going down that they could really use, but because they made fun of him, he doesn't want to share with them. Yeah. So it just literally, when you first started talking about this, I was like, this is Super Dan. Like, I wonder if they mimicked Super Dan because of Phoenix Jones.
It's buff black Super Dan.
Yeah. But like, I wonder if they mimicked that, like, similar.
No,
it's very possible.
I'm sure every city kind of has their superhero, you know, that wants to help situation. So who knows? I'm sure of it.
I mean, if they were actually like had like superpowers and could actually help you out of impossible situations, sure. But this guy was like a human fucking being, and he after all of that, like he gets arrested. Obviously, January 2020. Then COVID happens. Lord knows what happens with him then, and you know, you see him now every now and again, because he still trains MMA fighters. He posts like online and stuff, but
his brother's an MMA fighter.
Huh?
His brother's an MMA fighter. He has a brother named Colin.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. He has, again, he was adopted. So I could not find any information on him like before he was 9. So I wonder if that's one of his adopted brothers. But they all trained together. Like he trained.
It has the same last name, Fodor.
Yeah. So probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he has much quieter life now. So, you know.
Is he in prison or is he out?
I'm assuming he's out. I mean, it's been
He's out.
Oh.
He's
5
training
years.
in this.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
training fighters. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just
So you wouldn't be fighting MMA in prison.
I mean, maybe. You don't know. You don't know his
Fight
life.
Club.
Soap on a rope rules in there.
Yep. So yeah, that's Phoenix Jones, Seattle's superhero.
Well, hell yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I honestly, like, when it comes to vigilantes, I never really considered them as a group before, but when you look at it,
Me
you're
neither.
like, they're literally just a group of, I think, well-meaning people that went off the rails. Because, like, if you're okay with harming somebody, this way, are you
You're
okay
the
with murdering
problem.
people? It's a slippery slope where once you start
It's
down
the
the
keeping
slope,
your boundaries strong.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they aren't, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I've always been a proponent of, let the professionals handle it. If you don't like the way the professionals do it, you become one of the professionals and change it the way that you would like to change it.
Do it the right way.
Do it the right way. Yeah,
What we
because
like to call the right way.
right way. My way, whatever.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think most of these people were well-meaning, well-intentioned people that
Mhm.
just got off the rails a little bit, which is just wild to me. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a fun episode. Moral of the story is it never works out for any of them.
It just
So-
doesn't.
Honestly.
No, but next week, and I have to tell you guys because I forgot, again, we were re-recording this. So we are all going to be staying in an Airbnb on Lake Sutherland later this month, which is the
Mhm.
lake right next to Lake Crescent that I talked about in our first episode. So we're going to be heading over there and recording our very first episode all together. So that'll be a lot of fun. Obviously, we'll have video too and audio, but we'll get to kind of talk about things. And our theme for that week will be lighthouses. So
Yes, I'm so
that's gonna be a
excited.
good one. So that episode I think is going to be released. Is it the third?
The first
December
week
3rd?
of December. Yep.
First week of December. But next week's episode is going to be about
Kevin.
not Kevin, cults.
Not Kevin. Cults.
We could do a Kevin episode. Look at him.
He is really weird,
Can we just pick famous Kevins or weird Kevins
right?
Ow, ow.
or criminals with names that are Kevin?
I'm sure we could find those.
On that
Kevin
note, I have
Bacon,
to
quit chewing on your mom.
run away.
Yes. Please
Yep.
hit us up on Instagram. Our email is onceuponaweird25@gmail.com. I will make a post kind of giving a brief explanation as to what is happening and why we sound so good this week. So, we love you guys. We will talk to you guys next time and get ready to learn about some cults, y'all.
Bye.
Have a great weekend.
That's wicked, y'all.